We're going to go ahead and get started. I want to thank everyone for joining us for our first manufacturing career panel. We're very excited to be here, sharing our love of manufacturing with all of you. Couple housekeeping things, panelists and participants. Panelists, if you're not speaking, try to mute yourselves. Same for participants. Participants should be muted. Video can be off unless you want to ask questions. I see Elkhorn is setting up a mic, so maybe they're going to have students ask questions. If you want to ask a question, you can use the chat function. You can find that by scrolling down. You'll see it in the bar at the bottom of your screen, kind of in the middle. You'll click on that and that'll open up a chat function on your right-hand side, and you'll be able to ask questions. Within there, there is a button that says raise hand. If you want to try and get our attention, you're going to click on that button, and my colleague Joel Espinoza, who's hovering up at the top, will let me know to address your question. So we're going to get started. Inspire Walworth County is the program that I manage. I'm the program manager for Inspire Walworth County. It is administered by the Walworth County Economic Development Alliance, which is a mouthful. We're going to call it WCEDA for short. Our goal at Inspire Walworth County is to help students plan their futures. And we do that by leveraging our relationships with great businesses like the ones that are here today, to bring career-based exploration opportunities to students. So whether that's job shadows, interviews, internships, and classroom speakers, and career panels like the one we're doing today. Those are some of the options that we try to organize for our students. We also administer Zello, which is an online software program that students, teachers, and schools utilize to explore careers. It has a ton of great information. All the businesses that are here have their profiles on it. And so students can learn more about local businesses, what they do, and opportunities at those businesses. We are here because it's Manufacturing Month. Every October in Wisconsin is Manufacturing Month. It is meant to be a celebration of all that is great about manufacturing. And you know, it was created really to bring attention to the powerhouse that is manufacturing in Wisconsin. So manufacturing in Wisconsin is the #1 contributor to the state's economy. It generates $63 billion in total revenues in 2018. It is the state's largest employer. The 9,000 manufacturers employ nearly 475,000 people in 2018. So that's nearly 1 in 5 workers in Wisconsin works in manufacturing, which is huge. In Walworth County alone, manufacturers employ about 21% of our employed civilian population, which is a pretty big number. And our strongest manufacturing clusters, for those who are curious: plastics, metalworking, production technology, heavy machinery, wood products, and automotive. So we run the gamut here in terms of what is made in Walworth County, which I think is really cool. So we're going to get started with elevator speeches. I'm going to have all of our panelists go around, introduce themselves. I'm going to reintroduce myself because I'm not sure I was clear on that. Again, Jenny Quill, Program Manager with Inspire Walworth County. And then we're going to jump to Precision Plus. If you guys want to introduce yourselves, I appreciate it. You got to unmute. Hi guys, make sure you're unmuted.
The spacebar didn't work. Good morning, everybody. Spacebar didn't work. Patty Christensen, Vice President, Human Resources with Precision Plus. I joined this great team in May of 2018.
Mike Reeder, President and owner, Precision Plus, obviously. Joined the team in November of 1995.
Dave Strand, COO, former president and owner of Wisconsin Oven, retired a year ago. Rejoined Mike in June of this year.
All right, so next up in ABC order, let's see if I can get that right. I believe it's Royal Basket Trucks.
Good morning, Tom Kearney, President and owner of Royal Basket Trucks. I became involved with Royal in June of 1997.
Nice to see you, Tom. All right, so that takes us to Swiss Tech.
Hi, Christy Gramberg, HR and Accounting Manager at Swiss Tech. I've been here for 3 years.
I'm Scott Bliss. I'm the Manufacturing Engineering Manager. I've been at Swiss Tech for 26 years now.
All right, last but not least, we've got Wisconsin Oven.
Hello, good morning. I'm Amanda Griffel. I am one of 2 HR generalists here at Wisconsin Oven Corporation. We are located in East Troy.
All right, thank you for being here this morning, everybody. We're thrilled to have you. What I think is really neat about this group is that it is a really great cross-section of all the things that are made here in Walworth County. Things manufactured here in this county run the gamut from items that end up in outer space that are used in military vehicles, that are used in our cars and in our everyday lives. I think it's really cool that you can be driving down the street and there's this manufacturing facility on the left-hand side. You might not know what goes on there, but they're making things that end up in outer space and SpaceX and that NASA use. So that's really neat. So I wanted to start, and we'll start with Precision Plus again. Tell me a little bit what you make and its applications. Where does it end up? Precision Plus?
I have to unmute again.
As a contract manufacturer, we support many different industries. And so talk about outer space. We're not doing anything currently, but we put product into the space shuttle years ago and the remote resettable circuit breakers. On the automotive front, the wire harness that powers the fuel pump inside the fuel tank of the BMW Cross series vehicles coming out of Spartanburg, South Carolina, an end product there. We make door actuator systems that go into the MRAP vehicles for the military. They've got a 1,500-pound armored door that must be able to operate if the engine has been blown up to get our soldiers out of the vehicle as is hit by an IED. Most recently, we were called upon to produce lots of parts for the ventilators, going back to April and May when that became such an important aspect of all of our lives in the news media. And also more currently, the data centers, a lot of the data centers around the world, whether it be, Google, Facebook, other social media platforms, they're migrating from a liquid cooled chipset, or excuse me, an air cooled chipset to a liquid cooled. And so we're making the non-spill quick disconnect couplers that will go into every blade server that sits in the rack, and there's 20 to 30 servers within a rack, and they've got warehouses full of these things. So there's a tremendous demand in that area right now. So those are just a handful of the applications that we provide product into.
That's really neat. I got to tour Precision Plus last week, and it was really great to see all the things that you make and to learn about how they're made. So thank you. Royal Basket Trucks, you're up next. What do you make? Where does it end up?
Oh, I got that unmute button. Thank you. I tried to bring some of the products that we make behind us. You may recognize them, from commercial laundries to just about anywhere. We'd like to say that we're unlike Mike, who's a very specialized manufacturer, makes components. We're more vertically integrated. So we take the products, we have sewing operations, we have wood operations, we have welding operations. And most recently, we added the ability to make our own plastic here. Our products end up everywhere from the Green Bay Packer locker room to on the field with them. And basically, they're just about anywhere. We have a short video we can share with you in the future if you'd like to see them. But carts are in hospitals, carts are in hospitality. You go to hotels, swim pools, workout facilities. As my VP sales likes to say, they're containers on wheels. And if you don't want the wheels, we can take those off for you too. And we are located, like I say, in the industrial park in Darien, Wisconsin. I forgot that at the beginning.
Aren't there a few sports teams that utilize your baskets?
Yeah, the Chicago Bears approached us first. I don't want to get any boos in the audience. But,
Oh, I'm giving you a go Bears.
There you go. And so we started making the first carts for them. And I don't know whether you guys know it or not, but the guys that are the equipment managers for all these sports teams, whether it be pro football, college football, baseball, they have their own little mini trade shows. And we go to those. And so now we probably are in well over 40 different sports teams in their locker rooms or on their fields. We customize the product to put their logos on it with their permission. Of course, we don't sell them other than to them. But it's a real fun thing when you look on TV and you see your stuff. Or one of my favorite stories is you take one of our carts and a lot of them end up in prisons. And most of you have seen that when the prisoners try and make their big escape, they're underneath all the sheets and towels and pillowcases right in the prison. So we made some few spots in some movies we didn't really necessarily want to be in.
All right, so next up, we've got Swiss Tech.
For Swiss Tech, basically, we're in primarily the medical instruments area. I believe that's 70% of what we produce here. So that's instruments could be one of our biggest things is one of the instruments for doing knee surgeries with different attachments. So we make a bunch of components that go inside of that. We do a lot of aerospace fuel system components. For one of our competitors, or not one of our places around here close here, for GE, Woodward, stuff like that. We've done stuff for, like Mike Reeder was saying, for the space shuttle years ago. We do hydraulic systems here, not as much of that because it's industrial. We're trying to primarily focus on the medical and aerospace areas as they are fast growing. So along with the aerospace, some defense work for the military.
All right, Amanda with the Wisconsin Oven.
So here at Wisconsin Oven, we've been designing, manufacturing industrial ovens for over 45 years. So a lot of our equipment, we do have some standardized ovens, but we also, a lot is customized, engineered to order based on our customer specs and what they need, what application they might be using the oven for. So some of those applications include heat treating, finishing, drying, curing, and kind of what that means is that they're using these ovens to either maybe protect or prolong the lifespan of their products by protecting them from corrosion and wear and stuff like that. They could be forming and shaping some components. They could be drying wet paint or powder coating, solidifying plastics, stuff like that. So a huge variety of applications that our customers are using them for. We work with a lot of different industries, so we're not just in one. We work with aerospace, automotive, military, foundries, stuff like that. Some of our customers would be like Boeing, NASA, Caterpillar, Ford, just to name a few. A common misconception, you hear oven. So you're thinking, we get a few people come in and, oh yeah, you're baking pizzas or this is for food. Well, not quite. You'd probably burn that pizza real fast in one of our ovens. So different use there. It is not for the food industry. So I always point that one out, but that's pretty much what we do here.
Yeah, your ovens are huge. That would take a large pizza and burn it really fast.
Right.
Last but not least, we just had Eric Wentz from Better by Design join us. Eric, could you introduce yourself, full name, business name, where your business is located, and then what it is that you manufacture and its applications?
Well, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. Firstly, let me apologize for being a bit late. A couple of technical problems on my end, and so I do apologize for that. We're located in Delavan, in fact, just off the highway, next to one of the SPX plants here in Delavan. We are a designer and builder of custom automation. So basically, we work with a customer on their manufacturing process. In fact, go into their manufacturing process with them, things they wish to automate or make more precise or make faster or make differently. And we design machinery to take whatever they give us as raw material, parts, components, or raw material, and turn it into a finished, inspected, tested, measured, and maybe even packaged finished product. So everything we do is, if you went out and looked on our production floor, all the equipment and machinery that we're building out there is machinery that hasn't existed before, doing tasks that haven't been done by machinery before. and and at the end of the day, hopefully make our customers more productive in their process, and at the same time allow them to take the even scarcer today technical human skills that they have and put them to better use.
All right.
That kind of in a nutshell is what we do. Everything we do is a science project. We learn something new every day. All things are not as they always present. And when you try to take things that have been historically done manually by people and commit them to machinery, things don't always work out quite as planned. You end up learning things you didn't know before.
All right. Well, thank you, Eric. We're going to jump onto that next question. So I want to know what excites you about manufacturing. So I'm going to start with Precision Plus.
Are you directing that to me?
To Precision Plus.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I think what excites me about manufacturing the most is you see a lot of automation and a lot more developing with new technologies in this manufacturing world we're living in, that's transitioning manufacturing from being the old hard labor shops to more of a specialized application in a lot of cases. So it creates a lot of opportunities for all different types of skill sets. And it's really exciting about where this is going today. You can enter manufacturing whether you are a college graduate or if you are a high school graduate.
All right, I'm going to jump over to Swiss Tech just to stir things up. What excites you about manufacturing?
I'll let you go first.
Oh, all right. So I guess what excites me the most is the idea that you have a piece of raw material that's just a cylindrical shape, and you actually create something that is going to be useful somewhere in some assembly. That could be surgical stuff or fuel systems, so that you're actually making something from scratch. So you can see it, it's kind of like a painting, right? There's nothing on there, then all of a sudden at the end you have this beautiful picture. It's kind of the same idea right there.
Right. So that's exactly what I was going to say in my reply is, so for young adults that are thinking about, I don't want to work in a factory, or a factory has a bad, thought to it, or it's not going to be that interesting. It is very interesting. And if you like to work with your hands and you want to be mechanical and you want to troubleshoot and be resourceful and look at something different every day, then manufacturing is where you want to be. It is extremely interesting. And to watch somebody like Scott, for example, be in his role and enter in an entry level position as a young person, and then eventually grow with the company and grow within their skill set and learning all of the different aspects of what manufacturing entails. It's extremely exciting.
What about you, Tom Carney? What excites you about manufacturing? Tom, unmute yourself.
I did. Okay, thank you very much. Solving problems, basically, whether the problems are inside your manufacturing facility, where you say, okay, it's taking 2 people this long to do it. How can I make it better and faster? And a lot of times that's just by listening to the employees doing the job. We also have, we have employees that are, some are college graduates, most are high school graduates, some didn't graduate from high school. It's if you have the aptitude to work and the can do, if you want to do it. Not only do we solve our problems internally, but customers come to us with problems all the time. Or they say, look, your standard cart doesn't work for us. Can you make it a little bigger, a little wider, a little, so we're big into colors, short lead times, and the only way we can do any of that is get the right people. It's all about the team you can put together, and there's all different players on the team and all different skill sets. And that's what people forget about manufacturing sometimes, because sometimes I think when somebody thinks manufacturing, they think like the big automobile plants or somebody making you know, they see those welders and stuff going all the time. And there's a whole lot more to manufacturing than that. And like I said, we're proud to be manufacturing here in Wisconsin because we know one of the biggest assets we have is a very strong labor pool. And hopefully we continue to get people interested in manufacturing because it's a great way to earn a good living.
All right, so a couple of you have hit on this already, so we're going to kind of skip ahead, but I want to talk about misconceptions versus reality in manufacturing. So I think there are a lot of misconceptions about manufacturing out there, and a few of you have touched on that. So Amanda, I'm going to put you in the spotlight with Wisconsin Oven. So what do you think is a common misconception that you've heard about manufacturing, and what is the reality?
Yeah, I'm going to touch on two briefly. So I would say one of them, you know, a lot of parents or something of may have a misconception of, oh my, manufacturing, it's not safe, it's dangerous, it's dark, it's a grody environment, right? You're going to be entered into. Well, when it comes to safety, I mean, at all manufacturing plants should be anyways, the top priority is the employees' safety, making sure they go home every day to their families and everything like that. And, you know, we take that very seriously here at Wisconsin Oven. So, you know, we're talking about annual safety training, monthly training for our production employees, forklift and crane training, any equipment you're going to be used, you're going to be trained on it first, and then annually thereafter. Inspections on all of those kinds of equipment, safety committees that you can be a part of to bring up, you know, issues you might see. We do, you know, emergency drills, stuff like that. And a lot of now with the lean processes, which is basically just taking unnecessary steps out of your process that slow down productivity, and that will eliminate waste and increase productivity and eliminate the chance for, you know, any safety issues on the job. So I'd say that. And the other one would probably be just that grody, dirty, dark, dangerous work environment that you're thinking you're walking into, where nowadays, if you walk into some of these plants, like, and I know from, I have been to Precision Plus and at Wisconsin Oven, I think too, they're very, very clean. You will be surprised when you walk in, you're like, wow, this is not what I imagined. You know, so the air quality is fine. You know, you've got a nice workspace. You've got the tools you need, stuff like that. Those would be mine, I think.
Yeah, sometimes we say that you can eat dinner off the floors of most manufacturing facilities. That's how clean they are. So I know that is one of those big misconceptions that they're dark, dirty, and dank, and that's not true. Eric Wentz, I want to give you the opportunity to answer that question. What is a misconception you've heard about manufacturing, and what is the reality?
Well, I think the previous one was pretty good. It's dirty, it's dingy. You're chained to your workstation. You get a bowl of you get a glass of water and a slice of bread for lunch, and there's somebody standing over you with a whip. You walk into today's manufacturing, and I found that because a few years ago I ran some tours with some high school student parents and just brought them into our plant, and they all marveled at how clean it is. And in some plants, ours is relatively clean. I wouldn't say it's eat off the floor, but there are some plants that you would think, oh my God, they're doing welding and they're hauling metal around, and there's dirt and there's crud, and the air is smoky, and you find that it's eat off the floor and the air is clean, and the people are dressed neatly and they're not dirty, and all of that sort of stuff. All that conception is simply not true. And then you throw in oh, well, that's manual labor. Wow, that, you know, don't we do everything by machine? Well, you know, for most of the people on this plant, you walk into their plant, you're going to find a lot of very serious machinery. Whether it's machine equipment or automation like we do, or robots or vision or packaging machinery or whatever, that all takes a high technology staff just to manage it. And so that's quite different than what you see pictured, and even what an old guy like me remembers seeing on television, you know, 30 or 40 years ago.
And I think that leads kind of nicely into my next question. I wanted to talk about robots and artificial intelligence and automation and how they're playing out in your manufacturing facilities currently. So Eric, I'm actually going to have you start with this one. How do you utilize AI, robotics, and automation in your manufacturing facility, and how do you see it impacting what you do in the future?
Well, those are two different questions. AI, well, let me address robotics. Let me address robotics first. Robots are a tool. And today what you do in robotics is pretty much canned. It takes some programming and takes some skill to run one and make it do what you want it to do. But for us, it's a component. And it's a component that we put in equipment that has usually far more sophisticated and at least as sophisticated other technologies as well, including vision and all of that. AI is quite different. AI depends on how you define AI. And there are as many definitions of AI as there are people who can use the term. Today, it amounts to being able to accumulate historical information, compile it into something that we can use to either optimize what we've been doing, or in fact, maybe improve on it going into the future. To call it intelligence in terms of human terms is perhaps a misnomer. But it is being able to distill large amounts of data and continually improve from a production point of view, a production process going forward. So we use that all the time. Almost all of our equipment has got a computer sitting at the center of it and maybe several computers involved in it. Robots have their own set of computers. And all of that takes people who are able to understand and relate to that type of machinery.
Thank you. I'm going to have Precision Plus tackle that question next. So can you tell me about how robotics and AI play out in your facility currently, and how you see that growing or changing in the next couple of years?
For us, we use a limited amount of robotics. We use it in special cases where handling is critical. Consistency of where we pick and place, where you may not get that consistency with a human being actually handling the material. As far as automation goes with CNC equipment, that's the name of the game. Getting as many parts out as you can in the amount of time allotted and with consistency. So where the specialty still comes in manufacturing is the brains behind it, the programming, the engineering, and all of the know-how to get the robots and the automation aligned.
Okay. Swiss Tech, I see you nodding your head, so maybe you want to add to that. No.
No, we can add a couple things really quick. Just to go on about the CNC side, right? So the idea is to complete all the operations in one machine and not have a bunch of other areas it has to go to, right? So the whole idea of lean, so that we're not transferring things from area to area to complete it. So that's kind of the area that we're heading down mostly. So it comes with good programming, good tooling, and people that are knowledgeable about all those things, along with how to inspect it. We have some optical devices and also some probing devices to hopefully make it easier on the people to inspect their parts, multiple features at one time, and not have to have a bunch of hand operations such as mics and pin gauges and things like that. So we can have some variable data to actually show capability.
Okay. Kind of along those lines, what are examples of new jobs being created in manufacturing, and why are these jobs being created? So I'm assuming that a lot of these are going to tie into automation and robotics, so there might be some overlap here. Tom Carney with Royal Basket Trucks, can you talk to me about examples of new jobs that are being created in manufacturing?
Sure. A lot of it is the robotics, and in our world, as people look to do carts, they want them to be smarter carts. So part of what we're looking to do is to bring the intelligence to the carts, whether they just be as simple as motorizing them or as simple as making them almost robotics in some respects, where they make themselves go around a product, or 2 different Kanban stations or things like that. We continue to hire people in our IT area just for our own internal growth and stuff to work with the stuff. And it's not, you don't necessarily have to have a college degree there either. It's kind of interesting because if you're willing to learn and bring something to the table and, get to work every day, after all, at some point, work is a 4-letter word, right? I see all kinds of application types of jobs. And as we continue to grow, we have everything, like I say, from industrial sewers. So we almost always have to train. And well over half of our sewers are men who they didn't have home ec in high school anymore, I don't think. And all the way to running our CNC type equipment for making our plastic stuff. So, working multiple shifts. Sometimes these young people that are right out of school are much more adept at wanting to work at, a second shift or a third shift if they can earn more money doing that. So it's certainly something to consider too.
Amanda at Wisconsin Oven, you're up. So examples of new jobs being created in manufacturing or that you are seeing being specifically created at Wisconsin Oven.
Sure. So I think the newest type of job, I guess I would say, would be, again, along the lines of innovation. We have innovation and research and development engineers. So these people are responsible for kind of being like their own idea creator, inventors, and putting that into like a good or a service that our customer can then use to add value to their oven. So for instance, in an innovation case, we just started putting some IoT or Internet of Thing devices onto our oven so that we are actually able to the oven has its own mind where it can let us know if there's going to be some issues coming up, that we're going to need to look into for the customer, or if something is going to need a new part, we know in advance so that we can help provide that to the customer before the oven breaks down and then they can't use it. They lose productivity on their side of things. So some cool stuff on the innovation side. And they're always, any time we sell an oven and, maybe they find that they just find new processes, new ideas, new ways we can do things that are going to have a good return for us in the future. So, and then research and development, those engineers are pretty much responsible for developing new products, redesigning existing products, performing some research and testing on product concepts and stuff like that. So I would say here, those would be the newer jobs besides the normal production jobs we have, which if I have the chance, I'll talk about all those different type of roles that we have here, assembler, welders, on oven, all those different kinds of production positions. So, yeah.
All right, Precision Plus, I'm going to call on you. Do you have anything you wanted to add about new jobs being created in manufacturing that you're seeing and why these new jobs are being created?
Yes, we sure do. So we have 27 different job families within our business. And that's because we need all of those supporting resources to follow that part from raw material to shipping to the customer. Some of the newer jobs that we have added recently have been related to 3D modeling, where we have 3D printers on site here. And also with lean initiatives, we need industrial engineering process improvements, continuous improvement initiatives, those kinds of things. And in addition to that, with our college internship pipeline, we have succession planning that we've had to focus on. And we brought in some individuals that are understudying some of our more senior technical people. So we're providing junior applications engineering opportunities or manufacturing engineering opportunities as well.
All right, anybody else at Precision Plus want to add anything? No, good to go. All right, so I'm going to skip ahead because I know we're about halfway through already. My, how time flies when you're having fun. I want to kind of get into the nitty gritty of day-to-day work life and opportunities. So what is a typical day like working in your facility? And I'm going to start with Eric Wentz at Better by Design. What is a typical day like? Is there a typical day?
Well, it depends on who you ask. If you ask one of the project engineers, the typical day involves both interfacing and dealing with the customer and their process, and at the same time trying to structure that into a machine that'll produce a specific result. So on the one end, you have to have some of the interpersonal skills to be able to deal with a customer who often thinks they know what they need. And as the conversation goes along, that evolves on both ends of that conversation in terms of what is really needed and how to really do it. And that has to be an interactive thing, and you have to have the skills to be able to do that. In terms of the designers, I agree with a couple of the comments that have been made by others. I think Tom made one of those comments where there are an awful lot of people that have a lot of skills that don't necessarily have a piece of sheepskin to go with it, and in terms of a degree, and in terms of what it takes to be a machine designer, it takes an intuitive ability that kind of knows how things work, and an ability to translate that into something that someone else can build. Some of my best designers are not degreed engineers. They're people who work their way through another company in a tool room, or came up through maintenance, or were field service people, and they've just had enough experience so they know how things work. If you're a floor technician, that's a person who actually has to turn those engineering drawings into a hard piece of machinery. You also have to have some interpersonal skills to get along with those engineers who think they know what they're doing, and the things that they design, maybe don't quite go together when you actually fabricate them and try to bolt them together, and some changes need to be made. I put that interpersonal skills, those interpersonal skills, in terms of diplomacy, as opposed to just communicating with people. The rest is just on the sales side, and that again is working with customers to come up with ideas that actually solve real problems. So it can be any of those three things. Those are the three main things that take place at this particular company. All of them involve being able to get along with people. All of them involved having some technical aptitude, not necessarily an engineering degree, and all involve both just mechanical skills and electrical skills or programming skills. In other words, you have to understand, if you're going to use a robot, you have to understand what a robot will do. If you're going to use vision, you have to understand what vision will do, and conversely, the things that they won't do or can't do. And so that's kind of a long way around the barn, but that's kind of a description of what goes on here every day.
All right, thank you. I'm going to head over to Swiss Tech really quick. So what is a typical day like for you guys over at Swiss Tech? Christy.
Again, so like our counterparts here, depends on the role that you're in, right? Very much so. So we run a traditional first shift, 10 hours, which is 4 days a week, a traditional second shift, 10 hours, which is 4 days a week. And then we don't run a third shift, we run a weekend, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So a lot of our operators work on those core shift hours, right? Our engineers work Monday through Friday. Our office professional staff, again, Monday through Friday. In a post-COVID world now, some of us are hybrid, so that is another option. Like myself, I'm 50% on-site, 50% remote. I think that's kind of becoming the new norm for a lot of us, right? Which is actually finally, for the first time, I feel like I have work-life balance. That's going to be another thing that those just coming into the workforce are going to hear a lot of buzz about, right? Work-life balance. But for those of us that really do care about our roles and care about the customers, like me being the HR manager, our employees are my customers, right? So I make sure that I reach out to them as best as I can and always attend to their needs, and that that helps with the fact that I'm here 50% of the time and 50% not, right? One thing that Eric did touch on that I would definitely agree with, and that Tom touched on as well, and I could see Amanda nodding her head, is it really is important to, especially when it comes to the engineering side and manufacturing, practically, right? The practical application of what you're designing. In theory, this should work. In theory, I engineered this to do this and come out this way. But then when you get on the floor and you put it into practical use, sometimes it always doesn't come out that way. And so I would highly, highly recommend to any young person out there that is looking to get into manufacturing to put your foot in the door at a facility such as ours, or one of our counterparts here, and really step into an entry-level role and find out exactly how it does work and how applications are applied, and get that hands-on experience before you even decide on what type of degree you would like to go into, whether that is a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree. Because in your typical workday, those that have that practical experience and that know-how and really did come in and work on things at an entry-level position are going to be that much more advantageous to everyone else that you work with, to your employer. It's advantageous to you. It's all around good knowledge. So.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of skip ahead just because I wanted to touch on something you said, Chrissy. I want to know what types of jobs in manufacturing can be obtained immediately after high school. And so, Tom Carney, I'm going to jump over to you at Royal Basket Trucks. What kind of jobs can students expect to get or could get after high school?
Well, even while you're still in high school, they can talk about summer help. Our biggest months generally are July, August, and September. So if, and when other people want to take vacation, we do need summer help. But somebody can come into our facility and within a very short period of time, like hours or days in some jobs, you can be working in the sewing department trimming thread. Doesn't sound like very exciting, but you know you're finishing the project. You can be helping in material handling. You can be doing packaging. We're probably not going to put you on a $200,000 machine and say, go have some fun. But even the machines that, with a certain amount of education, within, a couple of weeks, you can be doing those jobs as well. A lot of the jobs here, we don't require necessarily prior experience or prior training. So right out of high school, you could walk in and a number of jobs here. Probably need to, but again, if you don't have the skills, within a couple of weeks for most of the jobs, we'll be able to train you up and you'll be able to start. So depending on what skill set you bring to the table, we're a 5 a.m. start time for our first shift. And that's generally all the assembly areas, as well as we have just our plastic molding areas, the only thing that works multiple shifts. So you go 5 to 1:30, or when we're busy, we do flex and we go to 10 hours. So our employees have the benefit of earning overtime if that's what they want to do. And if they don't, then they have to find something else, because some of those days we have to have them here. And again, that's just our ability. And the fact is our products aren't super complicated. We are not putting our things on the space shuttle, although we have a number of our products on some of the Navy vessels that fly, that are out to sea and stuff. It's kind of interesting. Those darn carts are just everywhere.
Really quickly, what's the typical starting salary for an entry-level role at your company?
Yeah, right now I think it's about $12.50, depending on the area. If they're going to start in the sewing area, it's a little higher, and they can get to the high teens in general.
Okay. All right, thank you. Amanda over at Wisconsin Oven, I'm going to jump over to you.
Sure. Which question? I'm sorry.
We were talking, I know it's hard to keep track, right? We were talking about types of jobs that people could possibly get right out of high school.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do, I know we'll touch on this later too, but we do or have done some youth apprenticeships here, or internships, summer internships for engineering or for on the shop floor, anything like that. So that you don't really have to have your high school diploma yet. You could just be a part of our team while you're still balancing your school schedule. We used to have a great program called Walk U, which was a on-site assembler welder training program. Gateway used to help us run that too, and then we ran it ourselves for a year as well. Would love for that program to maybe come back someday. But without that program, we can still do the same thing and train our own assembler welders. So if you have some experience from school, maybe you're taking some classes while you're at school, that of course can apply here, and we can help train you on some skills maybe you haven't learned while in your classes yet. So like I said, assembler welder, that's one that you could probably come in and get some hands-on training here, or do a youth apprenticeship, something like that. Other roles on oven and those that require a little more different skill set, some electrical, wiring experience, stuff like that. Those are ones that you'll work into. Hopefully once you start a youth apprenticeship here, or you start your career here, like many have mentioned, many of our employees have moved up in the ranks just from, starting as an assembler welder, moved on to on oven and QA and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of room for growth in different departments after you mastered one, or even if you haven't mastered it yet, but you just want to start learning a new skill set. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, I think so. And a few more too, but thank you.
Yeah.
So Precision Plus, I'm going to throw the question over to you. So types of jobs in manufacturing are at your facility that students could obtain right after high school.
I think we echo a lot of the comments that have been made, especially Amanda, your comments were right on and very similar to what Precision Plus does too. And we've had as many as 15 YAs in our building over a summer going into a school year. But what's great about our business is all of the supporting functions that support our manufacturing processes and the ability to grow once they come in the building. So they'll be, they can do finishing work, which is washing parts. They can do secondary work, which is inspecting parts and ensuring those parts are, deburred and ready to ship to the customer. We have a young lady we just hired with no training or no experience in QA, and we're growing her in that function. So we have lots of opportunities here for those that have the right aptitude and attitude.
Okay, thank you. Eric Wentz at Better by Design. How about you? Are there positions at your company that would be open to students straight out of high school? And do you offer apprenticeships, since we're kind of combining those two topics?
For someone coming straight out of high school, depends on the level of skill set and interest. We have manufacturing capabilities that run from electrical assembly to mechanical assembly to actual some basic mechanical fabrication, where someone can start out and be more or less tutored along on beginning relatively elementary assemblies and learn, our particular assembly techniques, how to read the drawings the way our engineers put them together, and how to make sure that the assemblies, the machinery goes together properly. All of that can be a progressive, more or less, how would you say, a tutelage, taking, putting a new student in the, as an understudy to a more experienced machine technician. Under that, they would learn how to read the drawings, how to read the schematics, how the techniques of how to do the wiring or the assembly and that sort of thing. The machine design itself is not something I would necessarily put in the hands of someone coming out of high school. That takes some experience, and when you have to design machinery that not only runs, but runs in the presence of people and in the presence of a lot of people, and it has to run safely, reliably, and consistently all the way along. Those are criteria that you don't pick up in high school, and often you don't even pick up in college. So that takes something of experience. But there are pathways here that lead you all the way to being essentially a master technician or a service technician, or something of that nature, which is a fairly high level skill set these days.
Okay, so I have a question from a student for Amanda with Wisconsin Evan. Amanda, they want to know, the student has experience working in welding, electrical, and auto tech. Would you have an opportunity for me to work as either a youth apprentice or a part-time employee?
I would tell that student, that's awesome. Sounds like great experience. And yeah, you could definitely send any information over to, if I can get Joanne my contact info. And if that student just wants to send their information, at this point in time, we don't have any youth apprenticeships open. Typically, we would do that in the summer, but we could definitely work around a school schedule if your schedule is flexible. So I will give, I don't know if Joanne, I can share my contact info. I don't know if I'm gonna spew it out here, but, and then we can connect, and that student can send me any information, maybe a resume, I could share an application, anything like that.
Okay, and I can always connect you to via email as well, so we can do that afterwards. Thank you for your question. Appreciate it. Last but not least, Swiss Tech, I haven't forgotten about you. So can you talk to me about your opportunities that you might have for high schoolers, right out of high school?
Right. So again, we start before you even graduate high school. We have done a couple of internships. We have done a couple of apprenticeships. And the opportunities and potential for growth are vast, right? So I'm actually going to defer to Scott a little bit because he actually he's walked the path. So.
Yeah, so like for when we start out, right, a lot of it's going to be secondary work. So that would be buffing, deburring, blasting parts washing, maybe material handling, those areas. And then with moving up, then you go to CNC area, and with a little bit of training, we can make you an operator. And then to work in the setup and then to programming, it just takes time and some perseverance to get there. Doesn't happen overnight, but we're willing to train and help people grow in those areas, because the CNC machinists are kind of far and few between to have really skilled ones. So we really want to build those up, because that's kind of where the industry is going, to have more of that, have less hand labor type things. So it's okay to start in those areas. Like we said before, you can learn a lot how stuff works by just doing those little things, but that'll help you grow into a better CNC machinist or even an engineer at that point.
Would you say it's fair to say that CNC machining is a highly in-demand skill set to have right now?
Yes.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, for sure. So
I hear laughter and nods. Yes.
Yeah. So like some people have already alluded to here, Tom touched on it, Eric touched on it, I think Amanda did too, and I think even Precision Plus. So one, it's going to start with, there's 2 A's, attitude and attendance, right? If you got good attitude, you got good attendance, everything is going to fall in line, right? It's not instant. It's definitely not. Anyone who really has refined their skill set and knows what they're doing and is patient about what they're doing and cares about the quality of the products that they're producing, also they have the temperament then, and you'll have the temperament of, hey, this isn't a race, it's a marathon. Let's continue to learn, right?
Okay, and I think that actually nicely touches on what I was going to ask next. So thank you, Christy. So we're talking about personality traits you look for when you hire. So I'm going to jump over to Precision Plus. What are 5 personality traits that you look for when you're hiring?
I start out with attitude, aptitude, passion, common sense, and the will to win, whether it's personally or as a team.
Okay.
And I would add also being open-minded and lifelong learner. So being willing to develop and grow skills and having a little bit of patience, going back to what Christy was saying, it is a marathon. And so we want students to understand coming out of high school or out of their 2-year or 4-year degree that they will bring a set of skills, but they will need to learn. And with that learning and hard work will come the rewards.
Tom Carney over at Royal Basket Treks, what are the personality traits you look for when you're hiring?
Well, some days I'm more prepared than others. But today we can talk about what our core values are, which relate just to those traits. We have integrity, we're respectful, we are quality focused, we're hardworking, and we embrace change. Those would be the 5 things that we look for and we talk about on a regular basis. And so if people can put a knot on all those, they'll be part of our family and part of our culture. If it doesn't work that way, that's not gonna, everybody's got their own niche. Find what you like to do, what you're good at, and more importantly, everything that you do as an experience only makes, sometimes you learn stuff that you don't want to do. When I was in high school, I had a job that the only one I really didn't like was working in a printer's office, and they had me cutting the paper to make it all be perfect at the end. I could not get that down at all. It just was not for me. I could sweep up the stuff afterwards. I was pretty good at that, but I wasn't so good at running that particular machine, and that's the only job I never really liked. So otherwise, find what you're at, do something that makes you happy. And if you're going to be a really super social person, probably not in the manufacturing area, that maybe, unless you're going to be in customer service or something. There's probably other industries where you're better served.
I think that's great advice. And since we're coming up on time, I'm going to jump ahead to that final question, which kind of is a nice segue from what Tom was just saying. What is one piece of practical advice you would give to someone starting out? So I'm going to jump to Swiss Tech. What is one piece of practical advice you would give to someone starting out?
I would definitely say do an internship. Do an internship. See if that's something you really like. Try it before you buy it. So a lot of companies offer internships to try out employees before they really bring them on board. And that's not really told to students, but that is a lot of where that concept comes from. But it also can work the other way around, right? So see if it really is something that you like, get your feet wet, and be your own advocate. What would you say?
So I was more on the hard work and perseverance kind of area. So I didn't get here just by kind of sitting around waiting for things to happen. It was the idea that I have to make those things happen if I want to get to where I want to be in life.
Okay, Eric Wentz with Better by Design. What is one piece of practical advice you would give to someone starting out?
Well, I'll go back to what they said at Swiss Tech. It's attitude, attitude, and attitude. The how you react to challenge, how you react to change, and whether or not you are geared towards proactivity versus reactivity. Most people that I know, ourselves included, hire the attitude and we'll teach the rest. And we can almost always do that. If a person is willing to bite in, and even to the challenges that you don't like, there are parts of things that that people do here that don't necessarily fit what they like to do. Well, sometimes we have to do what we have to do to get to do the things that we want to do. And how you approach that with a positive attitude and conscientiousness is what that's all about. This is about how you blend into a team of people who depend on your work, and not about you as an individual. And that's what we look for, that kind of attitude.
Precision Plus, I'm going to throw that question your way. One piece of practical advice you would give to someone starting out?
going to echo some of the previous statements, but we use the two A's, attitude and aptitude. Neither of which you can really teach. But we've got plenty of talented people here. We can teach skills. We're not necessarily looking for skills, but we're looking for attitude and aptitude. And if you don't have that, head down to the street to the next place, please. But otherwise, we'd love to be working with you. But the other thing we're looking for is the attitude. There's character. Drive is another huge component. If you want to get ahead, there's plenty of opportunities for you. But you've got to have the heart and the drive internally to go out and grab that. The other thing that we like to see is a little bit of humility as you walk through the door. We're going to make some investments in you. And obviously, you're starting out someplace, you don't know it all. So don't pretend that you do. There's a lot of great people you can learn from. And they are much more willing to train those that demonstrate some humility and are asking questions about, hey, can you show me? I'd love to learn a little bit more about this. Rather than, I know that. We see what happens afterwards, but a lot of the same things everyone else is looking for.
All right, that's great. So I'm going to throw that last question, same question, over to Amanda with Wisconsin Oven. So one piece of practical advice you would give to someone starting out.
I'll just touch on, again, what a lot of people are saying, but I think patience, as Christy had mentioned, I came from a background in radio, TV, film, and journalism, and here I am in HR. I was so scared when I got done with my degree and was like, this isn't what I want to do anymore. So, but I know what I'm passionate about, and what I was passionate about is working with people. And with some patience, I ended up in a role working with and for people, and that's exactly what I wanted. So I would agree with the patience. And also to touch on like what everybody said, I always tell people I work with to be like a sponge. So literally soak up as much information as you can to utilize for yourself to build your career and build your resume. If your company offers tuition or training reimbursement, take it. There would be no reason not to. I do it. And it's helped me tremendously. So definitely do that. That's my advice.
All right, so it's a little bit after noon. We could probably talk about this for hours and hours and hours, and we could just keep going. And so maybe we'll have to do it again. But for now, I'm going to wrap up the session. I want to thank everyone for being here today, for taking the time out of your day to talk about manufacturing and what we love about manufacturing. And thank you to the students at Elkhorn. I can't see you, but I know you're there. Thank you for being in attendance. And there's Joanne asking some questions. And if there are any other questions, you guys, before we go, you can get them in real quick. Any other questions? No? Okay, I see some. Okay, I'm gonna be bashful today. All right, so thankful to everyone for being here and for talking about manufacturing. And if there are any additional questions, Joanne and anyone else on the call, please feel free to email me directly and I will send that to the group. So thank you again to everyone. Enjoy Manufacturing Month, appreciate it, and have a great day.